Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Drinks and Movies with your hosts, Bearded Comic Bro and John from John's Comics with Kids. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle up for Drinks and Movies.
What? I clicked everything right.
You did it all right. Look at that. Oh my goodness. What's funny too is like we're wearing the opposite shirts and our logo underneath it.
Right.
So it's kind of like I can be you.
Like half and half, right?
I realize halfway through this is way too much of a commitment to try and get low and even.
No, it's not even worth it. Not even worth it. But hey, Greg, it is good to see you, sir. Happy holidays, man.
Happy holidays as well, man. It's good to be back and in our late night drinks and movies.
Yeah. So for those that don't know, because it has been it's been a hot minute. Greg and I have an inconsistent but highly entertaining chat about movies show, and we've done a ton of topics over the year, and talked a lot about our love for movies because we're not just comic bros. We nerd movies as well.
Yeah, and it's funny too because when you started this back, 2020, the summer of 2020, which is weird to think.
Yeah.
We started to get into let's do this regularly. When it came around Christmas time last year, and Halloween, we were like, we're not doing Halloween movies, we're not doing Christmas movies. But for round 2, we're like, you know what? We can hit them with some Christmas movies.
Let's lean into the curve a little bit.
Little bit.
So tonight we're talking holiday movies, and we're going to spend a little time on movies that are traditional holiday classics for the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to spend a little time flipping the script as we like to do and talk about some non-traditional holiday movies. And I before we get too far along, I dropped this question in the chat. If you'd rather us start with the holiday classics, we can start there, or we can start with some non-traditional script flipping and dive right into that. So those are both options, and we'll say hello to the chat in just a second, but we got to start with what are you drinking, Greg? What are we doing tonight?
I'm just going to Old Faithful, just a basic cheap bourbon, a little Jim Beam tonight. I was telling you backstage, I just got back from a little holiday party with the missus, and
nice.
It was wine tasting and stuff. So I'm like, I don't want to like mix beer, wine, and bourbon. So I'm going to go from the wine to the bourbon.
Smart.
And so because we got the little kids. It's going to be a busy day tomorrow. Let's be honest.
Exciting. Yeah. Always the excitement of the weekend, right?
Right.
So I decided to do a cocktail, a mixer tonight.
Ooh.
I got some Baileys. I got a little coffee in here. I got a little Jameson in here, a little sugar, and
it's family brand.
So I'm doing a little. I guess you could call it a Baileys and cream, but I went a few directions with it.
I always appreciate it, and you always are incorporating the family brand in. So
it's the family label, absolutely. So I don't know if I'm going to sleep real easily tonight if I got all the caffeine going, but
right,
it's a very sweet scent of the holidays for me. I'm going with here. We got some good friends in the chat, like Ruben Guzman, the White Tiger himself.
That's right. I always have to do a double take since he's changed his name a couple months ago on YouTube when he was.
It's the Cowabunga fam. Always,
is.
That's what takes me back every time.
Yep.
Spoiler alert, Jason's dropping his pick right there. And there it is. Right. Spoiler alert from me. We got Sam's love, Sheila. What is going on? She's dropping a little hello. Rest in peace to Sam. I appreciate you, Sheila, coming by and hanging with us, tailgating a little bit. We got hashtag backstage bros here with the bearded comic bro. We got Simon R. What is going on? Good evening. Merry Christmas. Hope everybody's doing well with the Simon R. and Ariel Red household.
Mm-hmm.
We got our good friend Jennifer, who wasn't able to hang with Greg as usual on a Friday night. You guys took the night. You and Fire Guy a little busy.
Yeah, I had a Christmas. I had a little fancy dinner. Ryan had a fancy dinner, so we're like, well, we're just gonna do it next week. So
right, comic bros and movie dudes. I mean, right.
Naturally,
we bonded over several nerd cultures. Is basically how it played out.
It's the truth.
Simon R has talked to me a few times about some of these picks.
Ooh.
I want to watch Bishop's Wife with my daughters and
Okay.
have them watch that original classic film. I did watch The Shop Around the Corner with Charlie recently because it's on HBO Max. This is the movie that they loosely used for You've Got Mail with Tom Hanks and Meg Ryan.
Okay.
It's a James Stewart movie about a man and woman who don't get along very well, but they don't realize they've been pen pals for the last year and writing to each other. And they work at the same shop, and he's kind of her boss, and they don't get along really well. And love blooms, that kind of thing. It happened on Fifth Avenue. That I don't know. Scrooge, all the versions, classic. Holiday Affair. I don't know this one. And then, of course, the last two are iconic. Absolutely. Jennifer says non-traditional. TJ's asking for spoilers, flipping the script. It sounds like it's not Saturday yet.
Well, he thought the show was on
sorry.
Saturday.
Vic is right. Yeah.
Yeah.
We used to do the show Saturdays. But you know what? I think we both kind of discussed, and the concept of doing this on a Friday kind of worked for both of us.
Yeah. And it's kind of nice because, like you said, I typically will have my stream before this and get a little chance to break and then hop right back on. So that way I'm not taking up 2 nights for stream, back streaming,
Right.
My family wants to see me at some point.
Yeah, see, we're on the same page. Totally. What's up, Kirk from Comics on the Mind, my man? And then we got the question, do you mean Preacher's Wife? Because obviously Bishop's Wife, classic black and white movie, remade with Denzel Washington later called Preacher's Wife.
So the Bishop's Wife was the original.
Yes. And it's
okay, I didn't know
Grant.
that.
I believe it's Cary Grant in the original as the angel who comes to Earth for a short time, trying to help a preacher.
Yeah.
But then falling in love with the preacher's wife and being conflicted on trying to do the duty that he was sent there to do from the Lord, but also his romantic interests.
I remember Preacher's Wife with Denzel. So
that's the remake. Yeah.
Okay. I did not know that.
Dropping knowledge. See, there's my coach Vic. He knows his movie. And David Nivens was the bishop in the movie.
Okay.
Yeah, Whitney Houston played the titular wife. Does that sound awkward? But it is factual.
It's true.
So let's dive right. It sounds like we want non-traditional.
We got
first.
One vote, and so we got to stick with our vote,
right? So we're gonna start off with those movies that maybe are debatable to some, that are questionable to others as far as, is this a holiday movie? We're going to try to sell it to you that we feel that this movie deserves its place. We're going to go through I've got 3, Greg's got 3, so we got a total of 6 movies that we're going to run through here that in our minds fit the criteria, and we should discuss that a little bit at the top here.
I was going to say, we probably
how
should.
do you, for you, I'd love to hear your perception. How do you qualify a movie as a, specifically Christmas, because we're not going to get to other holidays, but as a Christmas holiday movie?
I mean, first and foremost, I think the movie, the most basic concept, the movie has to take place around the holiday,
right?
You can't, maybe you can, but at least there are some movies, it has to be either around the holiday, leading up to the holiday,
sure,
post-holiday. The holiday needs to be mentioned and be an element that's in the story. Now, can you have the story without Christmas there? Sure. I would say you could, but it can enhance it and make it into a Christmas movie, because there's a lot of Christmas movies that I think you could take away Christmas and you could still have a good movie and the movie would still work.
Right.
And I'm talking traditional. Like, you could take away Home Alone and take it outside Christmas and it still technically could work as the kid got left on, spring break vacation there, and it still could work. Now there will be parts and elements that would be missed. And so I think that plays into it too. And there has to.
What's up, Steven Spock? And Gore is in the chat. He says how Loretta Young is weak in the knees around that devilish Cary Grant. But come on, who wouldn't be?
Right.
What is up, Scott from Hoarder's Hide? Good to see you.
All it needs is a Christmas tree, period.
I mean, he's not wrong.
I mean, it's really, and I think there has to be some type of plot that can correlate to an element that brings out something that you would expect in Christmas. There's multiple routes that you can go. You can go
Right.
redemption stories. You can go, you can go your Hallmark route of, a guy goes to a podunk town and falls in love with the bookkeeper. Like you can do
Right.
whatever. But I think there has to be some type of Christmas themed element,
Right.
that you see in your traditional Christmas movies.
Right. I'll go one step further, because that for me is the chief criteria. Obviously, you need to have the holiday
Right.
as a background setting in some fashion. But I'll go further on the theme side and say that you need a movie. The movie has to draw on some common themes for me. One is the idea that family is most important. And I think that comes through in any real great Christmas holiday movie. That at some point, characters come to the realization that what they've been prioritizing isn't what they should be.
Yeah.
And oftentimes it's a capitalism versus what do you have? It's a what are you grateful for having now versus what have you been trying to get kind of a thing. But for me, it's family is the central piece, that nugget that really makes the characters come to a realization about their family life in the midst of the insanity of that holiday.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I would say that's one of the main strong elements. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but I would talk about. I don't know if that element is in some of my movies, but there are other elements that I think play into it.
Sure.
From a different standpoint. So I wouldn't say the family aspect has to be an end all be all for me, but it's a very strong part.
Totally. Yeah, and gunplay. I forgot that. Yeah, that's really
naturally.
Really good point. So let me scroll up here. I got some movie posters set and ready. We're going to start with our number 3 and work up to our number 1 non-traditional movies. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Why don't you go first?
I chose The Ref. There you go. See, I blocked you out already.
No, I forgot which way I need to lean.
This movie's hilarious. I'm sorry that Kevin Spacey is a creep. He's hilarious in this, and Dennis Leary is fire funny in this. So if you haven't seen the movie, Dennis Leary is a criminal, and he's trying to commit a crime during the holidays. He gets separated from his partner, lost in town. He's injured, and he breaks into their home on the Christmas Eve. They're having a huge party with a ton of people over. And this couple, Judy Davis and Dennis Leary, their marriage is falling apart. And their son, who they really don't get along with well, because he's really been growing up in this horrible household, comes home for the holidays. And Dennis Leary's taking them all hostage. And they've got to pretend to be putting on a normal Christmas Eve dinner and pretend Dennis Leary is their family therapist. But in reality, he's holding them hostage, waiting for the storm to abate so that he can sneak off and reconnect with his partner and escape the town.
So good.
It's hilarious. I think it's very, very funny. I do not remember. I'd have to look it up.
I didn't want to put you on the spot because I felt like
I've got the DVD right here. So
I feel like we brought this movie up at some point.
Ted Demme.
So
brother to Jonathan, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Or cousin. I'm thinking brother.
You know what? Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I felt like we had talked about this at some point on the show, but maybe not.
So I find this movie funny. Now it's an off-color pick because it is full of horrible language, people being awful. Dennis Leary is as foul-mouthed as he is as a comedian or on Rescue Me or whatever you might know him from. I think his character makes the whole thing work because the whole family is just a bag of nuts. I mean, just some crazy, absolute bonkers people. Grandma is foul. In fact, at one point, he's like, I thought grandmas are supposed to be nice. He's like, you're horrible, lady. He's like, your husband's not dead. He's hiding. He just really forces the family to really look at what they've been prioritizing for so long.
Yeah.
And somehow they make it through this horrible night and learn a little bit about one another. And even Dennis Leary, comes out of it a better criminal. I don't know. I mean, nobody's like a brand new person, but this movie just cracks me up. I think it's just hilarious. And I try to watch it every couple of years just because it keeps me laughing.
I need to watch
not
it.
Your typical holiday movie.
I don't know if I have. What's funny is I was just talking about Dennis Leary the other day with Fire Guy Ryan, because one of the first times when I was out in LA, probably 6 or 7 years ago, I always was like, I want to go see a celebrity and, in the wild. and we were at a sushi place called Katsuya in LA, and he was there, and I was like, I'll take it. Dennis Leary, I'll take it. That's my celebrity. But then in Curb Your Enthusiasm, they just shot an episode where it was at that restaurant. So I was messaging Ryan about that. So I just thought that's funny because we both watch Curb.
All right. Well, there's my number 3. Again, if you haven't seen it, and if you can handle seeing Kevin Spacey in a movie and remembering that he was a good actor, you might enjoy that one.
This one might hit a little too hard, close to home the way he acts. It seems like
I'm saying, it was a pre-American Beauty Kevin too. Like there's a lot of American Beauty elements in this movie.
Yeah, which we talked about on the Oscar show with him. Yep,
we did indeed. Yes, indeed. All right, you ready for your number 3?
Yes. So we're talking Gremlins, and it has been a hot second since I've seen this because it does not fall into your traditional movies, and in just a phase of life that I'm in with my wife. If we're watching Christmas movies, she wants it to be traditional because we're getting like 1 or 2 a week if we're lucky.
Yeah.
And then if we're watching with the kids, it's not Gremlins yet. It will be eventually, but not for a while. And
I will say I watched it with my girls, and even they were at one point when Phoebe Cates tells her little family history. I don't know if you know her character, like her dad died dressing up as Santa, climbing up the chimney and going to surprise them, and then got stuck and he died. And they didn't know until they lit the fire and the smoke came back in the house. They had to call the fire department. She tells this story and she's like, that's how I knew Santa wasn't real. And I found out that Christmas isn't real. Like she says it in the movie. It's a really powerful moment. And Kate's like, God, that went dark. I don't know that we needed that. She was like
really,
they were like enjoying the horror of the movie until that moment was just a little too real for them.
Well, yeah, I mean, because it definitely is it's a horror movie that is set in the theme of Christmas. And I mean, it's one of those when you talk about a non-traditional Christmas movie, it's always up there.
Has to be.
It's a go-to for everyone. And it's one of those, the classic movies too, where they did how many sequels that were then?
There's 2 sequels, right?
Okay.
I know there's New Batch, and I thought maybe there was one other, but maybe I don't remember.
And they're not good.
Not so much.
They're not really that good.
No.
And it has the elements of it has a merging of your Christmas and your horror stuff a lot, but
sure.
It definitely being actually he's gifted the
Mogwai.
The Mogwai is it Mogwai? What is
Mogwai? That ends with the letter Y. And his dad buys it as a Christmas gift for his son on a business trip.
And it seems like one of those super sketchy stores that you would see in the start of a Goosebumps TV series.
Yes.
But I know you just watched it recently. So what was it? What did your girls think of it besides obviously that deep dark part?
Number one, they thought it was hilarious. Like they were not scared of the animals because I think they did a great job in the movie of making it funny.
Right.
Like making it silly and light. What's going on, Tess? Yeah, we've got some gremlins here. And my youngest thought that Gizmo, the main Mogwai, was totes adorbs and was just like oohing over him, was upset whenever he was like in danger or when they broke the rules, because she's a big rule follower. So she was like, dude, what are you feeding them? It's late at night. Even if it's not midnight, like just don't even feed them close to midnight.
Don't
like,
risk
what are you doing? And then, it's like, why do you have that big cup of water like right next to the guy? Like, what are you doing? Like, don't be an idiot. Like she's thinking it all through. Like, don't screw it up. Like, come on.
She's a person who watches the movie in the theater and goes, listen, like you guys literally could have avoided this whole tragedy if you would have just done 1, 2, and 3.
Right.
And
she's also asked, like, how do you give it like water to drink? Like, how does it drink? I don't know, sweetie. They didn't think that part through.
That's a good question. I don't know.
So yeah, the holiday elements are all here as far as family, because this is a very unusual family. Both families, the Phoebe Cates family, and then the main gentleman. I can't remember that actor's name, but like you see those family elements of struggling and the hardness, the challenges of the holiday season. You also see the wonderful sort of classic holiday tropes of the like greedy rich person who's
Right.
like ruining the small town. And in this case, it's this horrible lady who lives down the way and wants to get rid of their dog, and it's very Wizard of Oz like. She wants to kill their dog and get rid of it. And she has a Witch of the West kind of style to her. And then I just think there's a ton of usage of the holiday scenery
Right.
stuff, whether it's decorations or everything is blanketed in snow. It definitely has those themes going.
I think it holds into it a lot, tunes into that holiday decorations and element a lot more than some of the more non-traditional Christmas movies, where it takes a more of a backseat. It's in the background, like, oh, there's a Christmas tree, but it leans into the holiday even more so.
Absolutely. And again, I think it's much lighter and cuter and fun, other than the Phoebe Cates scene, which you could probably skip if you really wanted to just like skip that one scene with your kids. Like the rest of it, like, is pretty, even the Gremlins are like pretty hilarious. And you can tell that they're like puppets and they get theirs. Like the mom in this, like, kills 3 gremlins, like, she's throwing them in the microwave and the blender, and my girls were like, "Yeah, mom, get them." Like,
yeah, we're still gonna have to hold off on my girls. They're still a little young. We had to turn off Sonic the Hedgehog movie because it was getting a little too scary for my oldest one.
It happens. Yeah, that happens.
I don't know how that happens, but it does.
All right, I'm going to go to my number 2 on the non-traditional holiday movie list, and this one definitely is the one that skirts the rules the most, but works for me, and that's Lethal Weapon. Yeah, I mean, it has those. It takes place at Christmas time. There are trees. I mean, the very opening sequence with Mel, he's doing a cocaine bust in a Christmas tree lot. Like, that's the opening bit for him. And then the very end, Gary Busey breaks into their home, and the Scrooge movie is playing on the TV, and he says, "It's the day of Christmas," and he shoots the TV with his machine gun. Like, the holiday thing is all happening. But obviously this is the one that plays most fast and loose with the rules, because they're really not, it's not about that time of year. Right. It's really about what it takes to be a police officer in this imaginary world. I adore this movie. I think it's a phenomenal movie. And what I love most about it is the family stuff, because you have the family man in Murtaugh, and Riggs is the guy who missed out on that and never had a shot at it. And because of this new partnership, has a chance to be adjacent to that or be drawn into that world. And it's his, Christmas wish or whatever. He is getting the chance to get that. I love that the big fight sequence at the end is like on the lawn with the Christmas lights in the background, and they're doing their big karate fights. And for me, it just qualifies in the sense of, what are the themes? What is this about? And it's about 2 guys realizing that, they're there for each other, that they're going to be there for each other, that they need one another. They can't do this alone. Right. And that for me qualifies the thematic elements of, is this a Christmas movie for me?
Yeah.
Man, Spidey. He was already too old in the first one, and now they're on number 5 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah, I know. It's still
now they're both too old for it.
They really are.
Any thoughts on Lethal Weapon?
No, I mean, it's great. Like, I mean, we talked about.
I could see people disagreeing with this movie completely,
but it works because you put the caveat of what is the element that has to be there. Now, people. That's why you have to have like it set in a holiday theme, because people are like, oh, well, any family movie is a Christmas movie. So like you have to have at least a loose connection with it, if any connection with the holiday. So
I will say this breaks one of the basic rules, which characters choosing family over work during this time of year, because these guys do the opposite, right? They go all in on, I need to do the job. The job takes precedence in this a little bit, and in that way it does kind of break my archetype of like theme, but I think in the end it comes back around to this concept of family and being there for each other. So
yeah, but again, it falls into they learn you would hope they kind of learn some type of lesson,
Yes,
I mean,
absolutely.
Jingle All the Way, Arnold Schwarzenegger is working nonstop. He's missing his kid stuff.
Yep.
That's why he doesn't get the toy and things like that. And
I instead of snow, they have cocaine. And I think that, I think you could balances a little bit, right? It snows down at different points. This is a great question here. Where is it? Bub, sorry, saying passionate but weak argument. Does it have to have a Christmas song? And I would say so far we've had a home run on all those qualifications because there are Christmas songs all the way through these movies at several different points. So yeah, great point. I think that is definitely an element to these movies. What's up, Lefty? What's going on, man? So yeah, we're talking about non-traditional movies. I'm ready to move on to your number 2.
Let's do it, because
And
this kind of goes against one of your rules too.
Trading Places.
Trading Places is I love it. It's one of those movies I go back to a lot. This popped up in something I was doing. Oh, I put it on one of our Name That Character last year when I did the holiday one with the missus. And I was telling her about the plot line, and she's like, that sounds really interesting. I want to watch it. Still haven't watched it yet. But I mean, this takes place in the holidays.
Right.
Dan Aykroyd, he goes into the premise of the movie is two higher up guys. If you've never seen Trading Places, first off, what's wrong with you?
Statler Waldorf, basically.
Yeah. Are like basically like, let's play a game. Can you change people's circumstances with money? Are people just born into it? Kind of, and just kind of testing stuff. So Dan Aykroyd is a well-to-do businessman, I think stockbroker, and Eddie Murphy is, a down on his luck, living on the streets trying to swindle people.
Right.
And they basically frame Dan Aykroyd, make him broke, and then boom, they bring in Eddie Murphy to replace him.
Right.
And shenanigans ensue.
It's
Dan Aykroyd busts into the office building all off of dollar bet. Dan Aykroyd busts into this office at one point in a Santa suit, drunk, stealing meat, stuff, and like it just.
Yep.
Bubs want a Christmas song. There's Christmas music in it. I think Jingle Bell Rock, so
absolutely.
You have all of those elements, and I do apologize. I put in a cough drop because I was getting a little tickle in my throat. So
it's all good.
But this isn't really as much family as it's much more of. It's a kind of a unique take on what some of the more traditional elements of Christmas, if you're looking at from even a religious standpoint of Dan Aykroyd, he's even at one point he's trying to go to all his buddies and try and find a room, and people who are supposed to help him, and they're like, no, get away from us. And he ends up staying with a prostitute on the street, and
the amazing Jamie Lee Curtis,
and she does great. And I think what it really not as much family, but about how no matter your lot in life, people still are people and they matter, and we need to treat people the way that we should be treated, so it's more of a world peace kind of mindset that you get, as not as much family, because they're more loner guys.
But I think in that way, it's about the family you make, right? The family that you choose because they're there for you. And I think Dan Aykroyd loses everything and has to find something that actually has meaning. And it's not the money and the possessions he had, right? It's the people that he makes those connections to. And certainly he's still trying to complete the task of getting his life back and ruining the people who got him put him in this situation. But he appreciates far more at the end what he had. And that's that element of gratitude that I think is a huge theme in all these holiday movies. And
that's where I think the holiday element really sticks in, is it talks about what really matters in your life. You talk about, the token, high up in the job, money, everything you want, well-to-do status, but take those away. All his friends were leaving him behind. He was high and dry. He had nowhere to go. What do you do with that? And Eddie Murphy, even when he got the money, obviously he enjoyed, and was, treating himself, but then how he even acts though too, when they're trying, like, it just is such a beautiful balance of
Totally.
what really matters in life, and how no matter your lot in life, where you're at, that if we can just look at each other and say, oh, you are a human being, we might not be on the same, playing level field when it comes to, economic status or whatever, but we're still humans. Like, how much better we would be. So like that,
in that way, isn't it like a Scrooge sort of story,
Mhm.
right?
Right? Because he always thought everyone below was beneath him, and he didn't have a family either. And then obviously, Tiny Tim brings him into his. But
Right.
there's a lot of elements of that I think you can't, at least going to our rules, you can't say it's not a Christmas movie.
I absolutely agree, and it fits perfectly. I think it's a great choice. So we've got one non-traditional holiday movie left each. Then we're going to get into our traditional picks. So these are our number one picks.
Am I going to throw you off? Can we save yours for last?
Let's do it. It doesn't matter to me.
So
let's see here.
I just think it'd be fun. I think that's one that is always a fun one to talk about.
So this is Greg's number one non-traditional holiday movie.
Come on, gang. You know me. I'm not going to not have Batman in here. Let's go. Batman Returns. It's everything you need in a Christmas movie. It's set in Christmas. Hoarder side, you want a Christmas tree? They got a huge Christmas tree. They got a Christmas tree lighting.
Yep.
And there's snow. There's evil clowns popping out of Christmas packages and stuff.
There's people eating raw fish, just biting off big hunks of them.
Everything you need in Christmas. Now, you can look at it multiple different ways, right? You could look at it from the loner aspects of, Batman, Catwoman, and Penguin. They're all loners. Penguin's been abandoned by his family.
Right.
And he's trying to find his place, whether he does it rightly or not. He's trying to figure out his place in the world. And, Catwoman, she's Michelle Pfeiffer, played by the, beautiful Michelle Pfeiffer. And she's kills it as Selena Kyle in this. And loner too, trying to fit in and trying to find this balance. And you start to see the connection with her and Batman. But the arcs that they take of, Selena Kyle's arc, where she's at, and then it kind of drops, and then she's kind of going up and trying to find that balance like Catwoman has always done in the comics. And you want Christmas music, there's Christmas music in there as well. But it talks, to me, you almost can look at it as almost like a sad or a dark Christmas movie from the aspect of like, you look at family elements and things like that. But when that family element isn't there, what happens to the people? Like how important the connections and family, means, and how important that is in our lives, that when you are alone or when your family literally throws you away, like they did with Penguin, what does that do to someone who has to try to really figure out, what does he say?
He's saying that Max Schreck as the villain, he really epitomizes greed, and therefore works so well in this, because you see somebody with the same means, i.e. Bruce Wayne, and what he chooses to do with it. Bruce is somebody that's never fallen into the Scrooge trap, and I think somewhere in the middle would be Penguin, and he doesn't know where he fits on that spectrum. He despises both and is yet jealous of both.
Right. And he wants to be loved by the elite, but he also despises the elite as well, right? Like he wants that status, he wants that, but then he almost embraces the, I'm going to make fun of myself, the Penguin motif, because can't win, laugh with them,
right?
And
so for me, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, to go off that Batman and Max Schreck tie-in, it's that idea of what route you can go to, right? When you have the money, are you going to go the route that he went to or the route that doesn't, and man, basically what we're assessing is that Batman is Santa Claus in here.
Let's see here. putting people in timeout in my chat.
I'm not a moderator. I can't.
Yeah, I know. I realize that I don't have any moderators hanging out in my chat tonight. It's all good. I think I did it all right, but I don't know. Nope, sorry. Let's see here. Put user in timeout. That's probably the better way to do it. Peace, sucker. So for me, like I get what you're saying. It may just be that I have a hard time enjoying this movie because it's so grotesque. Like
Absolutely.
I think that the grotesquerie of it really makes it hard for me to watch it again. I really struggle with that, and I feel like it makes it very difficult to appreciate that. It's very difficult for me to enjoy it and want to rewatch it because I can't stand this penguin. Like I can't watch him. It's just disgusting. I can't deal with it. And even Catwoman, as gorgeous as Michelle Pfeiffer is this grotesque, like zombified almost Catwoman. That's not my Catwoman. And so I struggle with that. As a holiday movie, yeah, it meets all the criteria. It's got the setting, it's got the background, and it certainly has the it's very much Ghost of Christmas Future. Right. The idea that you're seeing what can happen when it's just all greed, when the greed runs the show,
Yeah. And we didn't say these are the best ones for watchability. We just said they're our favorite non-traditional. And I'm a Batman guy, so
there you go.
It's got to be on there. But I wanted to say yours because whenever people bring up your movie, I'm always like, well, if you consider your movie one, I can consider my movie one.
There you go. And I will legitimately fight tooth and nail to make this a Christmas movie. And I really feel pretty strongly. What's up, Dave Collects? That it's impossible to argue that this isn't a Christmas movie unless your view of Christmas movies is so narrow that it can't have gunfights or what have you. Like I'm going to break down the beauty of the theme for this movie. So this movie is completely about two people who have chosen work over family and done it to the detriment of their family unit, moving across the country, separating, dealing with their family splitting, and then coming together on this Christmas party and having to question those choices. And symbolically, they both have to give up their work for the sake of their family. Now, how do they do that? He shoots every single bullet in that gun and then drops the gun and doesn't even get to kill the bad guy in the last moments of the movie because he has given up. Here's where the other Die Hard movies ruin the themes of the original movie. He is basically saying, I'm done with this life. Like, I've spent my last bullets. This is about my family. And then what does he do for her? He pops the watch off, the gold watch that she got as a gift for her job, for how great she's been doing a job. That he's even at the very beginning, that really sleazeball guy's like, show her the watch, show him the watch. We gave you the watch. That's what's holding the bad guy is clinging to that. And the bad guy is a wonderful mix of criminal and businessman. Like, he's from both of their worlds, and they both have to let it go. That there are bad guys out there and businessmen out there that we can just let it go because what's more important is each other. They have to choose at the holidays that their family matters more than his job as a cop or her job in the business world. They have to make that choice. And then in the end, they can be happy together, appreciating one another. And that's why he can't shoot, Carl at the very end. It's got to be the guy who's choosing to be a cop for his life, not the guy who said, I've been a cop, I want to be a dad, or I want to be a husband. And that's the lesson that John McClane is learning. And it's powerful. Yeah.
And then it was such a good movie and such a big hit that they just said, we're going to forget everything that we did about Die Hard and all those.
So bad.
And he's going to be a cop. And he's
absolutely
together with his wife.
It is a crown jewel. I agree. I think it is really a thematic. It qualifies on every thematic level for me, and all the elements of greed over family and all those qualities that both John and his wife sort of symbolize, which is choosing work at this era in history, and that 80s, 90s, choosing
Mhm.
work over family, and the impact that that had on fulfillment, and both of these characters proving that like they weren't happy picking work over their family unit and how hard it was on them. Let's see. This week, the week Die Hard premiered, Oprah had Bruce Willis on her show. She was overcome by the film. I think she contributed to the success. I mean, Oprah does everything, right?
Oprah.
You can
Oprah.
only do one or two for Christmas movies. They don't continue with that theme. I agree. I almost don't think the second movie works on the Christmas theme personally, because they throw out all of the goodness made here and they kind of act like nobody learned any lessons and they got to learn it all over again. It's kind of frustrating. Does it qualify as a traditional Christmas film? I mean, I would argue that it might. But I also know that it is the debated movie in this discussion.
Yeah, well, Hoarder's saying that it does.
Yeah. It's really offensive knowing his wife still leaves him after his hard work in the sky. In my opinion, Mark, she doesn't, because I discount all the sequels to this movie as being just schlocky action movies. I don't say they're horrible, and they're certainly wonderful, like entertainment, I guess you could call them. But this is a masterpiece, and those movies are just pale, shadowy forms.
Yeah.
What is up, Sean? Sorry, I almost missed you there. You can't talk about these Die Hard points this coming Friday. Well, sorry. I got some of them out of the way now. Oh, there's Brandon, my guy. Brandon is hanging out with Chet. So good I hope you and Chet are having a good time hanging out. Enjoy the weekend together. So there's our non-traditional holiday films, those films that people might say like, that's not really a Christmas. You could have debate with people and discuss those qualities that Greg and I discussed at the beginning of, is it a holiday movie? What are those qualifications? But now we get into those movies that really, it's hard to disagree. These are the Christmas movies. And to Mad Spidey's point, some people prefer a non-traditional versus a traditional for sure. When I grew up, there wasn't really an option. Nowadays, it seems like some people like a good counter-programming choice.
And I'm a sucker for a traditional Christmas movie.
Then I'm going to give you your number 3 traditional Christmas movie, which I think has become the modern classic. We got Love Actually.
This is our go-to in our household.
Nice.
Now, there are people that will still try and debate that this isn't really a Christmas movie, which
that is bull. Those people are idiots. This movie is so Christmas. It's like, come on, this is the modern Christmas. So Christmassy that Ted Lasso even did a Christmas riff on this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I get it. Mad Spidey, no thanks. But I'll tell you what, this is
well, Scott, I didn't pick this one as my top 3. It's his number 3, but I get you.
I'm sorry, but in the chat before you throw me out, you're like, this is a great pick.
I do like this movie. It's not my top 3, but it is a good pick. It's way better than Last Holiday.
Oh, I have no Hoarder Side and Spidey. Like, I have no shame about it. I love this movie. I'm a sucker for a rom-com. I mean, sheesh, we did an entire episode on musicals and romantic. Yep. I have no shame in that. I mean, the elements that you get, this is one of the only movies too that they have a cast like this that it actually works. Yeah. I mean, you've seen it. This model tried to do it over time and time again. They did a New Year's Eve one. They did a Valentine's Day one, and none of them still work. Like they found the right chemistry here that worked. It follows all these different storylines. You're trying to figure out what, they all seem like there's no connection to these storylines, and then there's a loose connection through it all, and it hits on any type of element that you want for Christmas, right? Like,
right.
You have Hugh Grant who plays the prime minister, and he's new and he's trying to figure out what to do, with his work, and he falls for the girl who, always is cussing in his, on his staff. And you have the writer who is who's betrayed by his brother, who sleeps with his wife when he's at a wedding. And so he goes off and has to try and figure out what's going on. And all these different stories and elements. And, you have the Keira Knightley storyline with the guy, what's his face, Walking Dead, Rick Grimes falls.
Yes.
He's shooting the wedding and he only is focusing on her as the best man. And like all these story arcs, and it has just this, it brings it around in such a way for me. Again, I'm a sucker. I get emotional at rom-coms. This is one of the first ones that my wife and I will start and watch. It's funny. I actually did an interview with a guy who did a Christmas Kickstarter called Periwinkle. And we were talking, I was like, what's your go-to? He's like, we always start with like Love Actually. I'm like, what? Do we just become best friends? Like, I don't. So if you have to say, is it a top 3 Christmas movie? Probably
for
not.
you. For you though,
I would say it's a top 3 for me because of how often I watch it.
There you go.
I mean, I'm not. If you want to interchange it with some that don't make my list, I wouldn't. Like, I'd like.
Can I tell you my biggest strike against it? Because I do enjoy it, and I love a Richard Curtis movie. I'm a rom-com enjoyer as well. I can get a lot of joy out of. I mean, I just watched 4 Weddings and a Funeral again recently. Amazing movie. Richard Curtis wrote that, and he wrote and directed this.
Yeah, try and ruin my movie. Go for it.
I just wish I could watch it with kids.
Okay.
And this movie, the porn couple,
porn scene,
just Martin Freeman's storyline, as cute, is just like, do we really need this movie to be a hard R? Like, do we really need it to be a hard R? Like that? Does that really make it better? And that's the only thing hurting this movie for me. Is if it was a movie, I feel for me, a top 3 traditional Christmas movie needs to be something you can sit down in front of anybody and watch. And this movie's just like, no.
Yeah, I don't know if mine. Do any of mine fall in that way? Yeah, one does. But I would say this: you could probably watch it on TBS, TNT, and you'd be fine.
That's true.
I mean, and I think that's another one of mine. You can watch it on TNT, and you can watch it as your family and be fine.
The Best Man Holiday. That's a Christmas movie. There you go. Silent Night, Deadly Night. Why do I get the feeling you are 2 men trapped in a house full of women? I mean, you're not wrong.
3-1, 3-1. So probably true. Yeah.
It's great.
On that,
it's
but I was
funny.
Still watching it. I was still watching it.
I love the use of the cast. Like you mentioned, Liam Neeson and his son. Phenomenal, great sequences. Hugh Grant is hilarious always.
The musician though too. Oh my gosh, Bill. What's his face?
Nye.
Yeah,
Bill Nye is great.
And how he literally is just taking his number 1 hit and changing it from Love All Around to Christmas Is All Around just to capitalize on the holiday.
Hey, we did argue that just a second ago.
Yeah.
So yeah, great pick in my opinion. Really good movie. So my number 3 on my list is one that I watch every year with my girls, and that's The Nightmare Before Christmas. And you can argue it's a Halloween movie, you can argue it's a Christmas movie, but it's clearly both. And the watching a character who's never experienced Christmas fall in love with it so much that he wants to become Santa and take over for Santa, for me, makes this more of a Christmas movie than a Halloween movie. And watching Jack Skellington go through his little journey to realize that he's trying to be somebody else, that he's trying to force himself to live a life that's not his own, and to find his own place and to be happy about what he has and the family that he's got, and not necessarily try to go after something that's not meant to be. So this movie is funny, so well written, immaculately done. The artwork and the design of all the characters, phenomenal. And then of course, Danny freaking Elfman's music. I don't know why we never got. I know why we never got a sequel to this, because it was lightning in a bottle, and to recreate it would be near impossible. This is just it's just a masterpiece on every level.
The claymation stuff, what they had to go through. I mean,
It is a movie you can watch for 3 months straight, right? You can take that through Thanksgiving and into the next, and it just is one of those all-time great movies. What, Scott?
So I will say this: I don't love it as much as people love it. I still enjoy it, but I don't. It doesn't. I feel like it definitely has a. I don't know. Was it a big? I don't think it was a big hit at the box office because of the theme.
I think people thought it was too Tim Burton creepy.
Yes, and so I think it didn't do well, and I think this is one of those. This is like your Hocus Pocus. This is like your, Fight Club, where it got a cult following afterwards, and it has grown to the success that it has hit. But I also think too, like if you ever watch on Disney Plus prop culture show,
You haven't seen any of these, Vic? Don't be messing with me. I think you're messing with me now.
he's messing. Have you seen Prop Culture on Disney Plus?
Yes, yeah, and he
they
traveled around and got all some of the original
showing
pieces.
the stuff from this and how they did, like, such a cool episode.
I did not hear this news. I'm both excited and worried.
I did not hear this news.
You should definitely give it another try. Watch it with kids. If you have nieces, nephews, whatever, and can watch it with that, I think you'll get a different appreciation for it, perhaps. And I do think a little creepy is a little bit of fun, and I think it's kind of what makes it exciting. All right, so then
I just saw Lefty. I don't dislike it. I just don't love it as much as people have elevated up to the status. Like, it wouldn't make my top 3.
And I would say the same about Love Actually. Love Actually might have made my top 10, but not top 3.
And but Love Actually also, I feel like, has been elevated to this kind of, like you said, now it's one of the very modern ones. So
it's funny because it's become that modern equivalent of a movie that gets run. For a while it was some of the other movies we're going to mention on this list where you'd see them on TV constantly. People talk about a bunch. I feel like it's become Love Actually in the modern era. Or it's become my number 2 pick. We're going to jump over to my number 2 pick, Elf, which I do feel like has become a modern holiday classic. Again, a movie I feel like you could watch with the whole family. Everybody will enjoy it at different levels. I think this movie's just, it's so pure joy. Like, it's just, Will Ferrell is so perfect in this part. James Caan as his dad is wonderful. Mary Steenburgen as his stepmom, I guess, is just great. And then just the design of this story it's just so full of joy that I get a ton of joy out of it. And watching Will Ferrell experience New York and watching his family experience the holidays in a way they never had before, I think it's just amazing. And Mad Spidey, I thought we were friends. And then what? You say something like this? Whew. And yes, I totally agree. Jon Favreau finds his footing in a big way. And he's great as the Doctor in this too. I just think it's amazing.
I think a lot of people that have issues with Will Ferrell, I know a lot of people that just, like, it's the same stuff for him. They don't have as much issues with Elf as they do with him overall, because it kind of like gains it a little bit.
The Wedding
might not
Crashers,
be from Mad Spidey, but
Anchorman kind of stuff that they don't like.
Yeah. But
I saw Coach Vic mentioning 2 movies we've already mentioned earlier tonight. So if you missed the earlier parts, definitely go back and check those out. Preached a Christmas series based on Elf. I mean, I'd be down for that.
Right? I'd watch it. I'd listen.
I totally agree. Start to finish. It's even got the like throwback to the old claymation holiday. It's just beautifully done. And
R.I.P. to the legend who played Santa, Ed Asner.
And I think, again, it connects to that concept of the family we create for ourselves, and watching Will and his father connect. It's just a really beautifully done movie. And hey, if he turned down $23 million for that sequel, he clearly doesn't need the money, but he's also a wise guy who knows that comedy is one of the most impossible things to recreate. That you created in the moment, which is why there's, in my opinion, only been one great comedy sequel that was better than its original, and you're going to talk about it in a little bit. Let's go. I mean, do you want to talk about Elf, or should we keep rolling?
I mean, I think everything you said, everything that people said, like, that is another one that has become a modern classic and I think it embodies everything you want. If you want your Christmas movies to be one you can watch with your kids, still enjoy it as an adult, and walk away from start to finish feeling good, this is it.
There it is. So let's go to another one that fits all those criteria. Your number 2 pick.
This is it.
Little Ralphie, man.
This is Christmas for me. I mean, you have your classic 24 hours on TBS, I think it's TBS, maybe it's TNT, I don't remember. Where they do this for all 24 hours. So I watched this all the time as a kid. It's everything, it holds up for me through and through. The scenes with the family, the old man, like how they even call him just the old man. Like you don't even know the dad's name. He's just the old man. Ralphie's dynamic with him, with then his mom, and like how he tries to like do what every kid did, right? Leaving the stuff open for, the magazine and putting hints to the parent to see like, this is what I want, for Christmas, and the ever faithful, like, no, you can't get this, you'll shoot your eye out. And it just hits all the right notes for me, that even when things go wrong and the Christmas dinner is ruined, that they go to, the Asian restaurant to have Christmas dinner. Like
the duck with the head on it, the guy cuts it off.
And it just hits all the right notes. We went and visited the Christmas Story house a couple years ago because it's in Ohio where they shot it, and because all of it's taking place and you can go visit it, and they have the Christmas Story Museum across the street. And so they didn't shoot any of the movie in there because it's too small, but they recreated the inside of the house for every single, like it looks identical to what the house is like that. And all the exterior shots were from there, but it just embodies what I like at Christmas. And there's a reason it's playing 24 hours on a Christmas day. Like you might not like it, or it might have gotten old for you, but the classic, sticking your tongue on the, the frozen flagpole, the bunny. Right. How many times have we all gotten a Christmas present from a goofy relative that we're embarrassed to wear? Like it hits all the right notes for me as a kid and as someone now who has kids. And yeah, Lefty Blue, I didn't even talk about the leg lamp. Like it's iconic. I mean, I have a leg lamp on my tree. John has one. We got a leg lamp.
It's right there. There. I was ready for you. Lefty.
Yeah, it's so good. So I could go on for it. What about you?
So yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. In fact, your number 1 and 2 pick, if I was going to pick 5 movies, would be my 4 and 5. Like they're all right up there with just the great holiday movies. My dad's name is Ralph and his dad's name was Ralph. So my dad always had this element of like, oh, he was like little Ralphie as a kid. Watched listen to the Little Orphan Annie radio show. Mm-hmm. And so for me, like this was like an insight into my dad's youth. Admittedly, grew up in California, so all the like cold weather stuff, not relatable, but all the family dynamic stuff. He had a bunch of brothers, no sisters. And their family Christmas giving stuff was very similar. And so for me, it was like it felt like a movie connected to my dad in a big, big way. And I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
And it's another movie that we don't talk about the sequel.
Yeah. And so it also based on a bunch of writings by a journalist who then turned those into a book that they used. And my dad recently said he was reading some other new books by the same writer. He's been writing about the same period of his childhood.
Yeah.
So really interesting. Yeah. I recreated the tongue scene and got real stuck. Oh, gee, Lord.
Why am I not surprised?
Charlie Brown Christmas. That's a great one, but I understand, everybody's got their taste. Maybe peanuts isn't your thing.
Yep. It happens.
Some people are allergic to peanuts. Are we ready for number 1? I mean, look at us. We're running on time. We're running a tight ship tonight.
We're doing good.
2-hour show sometimes, I feel like, and we're back in the swing of things here.
Yeah, and we're talking 12 movies. We're doing well. Well.
So I will say if my dad had to pick 2 movies that were his all-time favorite Christmas movies, we picked them at number 1 for you and number 1 for me. So who do you want to go first? Because it's kind of a modern versus classic thing going here.
Yeah. Doesn't matter.
All right. I'm going first.
Go for it.
This is my all-time favorite movie. and I adore It's a Wonderful Life. And I came up in the era when this would be on every single channel at Christmas was as a kid. And I know I was probably at the end, the last sort of generation of kids that experienced that, where every network channel had the rights to this and could run it for free. And it ran on all the channels, like every night it would be running everywhere. And then on Christmas Day and Christmas Eve, it would run 24 hours, like all day long. They would run this movie. It was my Christmas connections all ran through this movie. And so much so that I started realizing how many TV shows would have an It's a Wonderful Life episode.
Right.
How many times this trope of a character seeing what would the world be like without them. You know, that concept of the last third or last quarter of the movie is so overused now. It's ubiquitous. There's a big word for everybody. And I think it is that way because Frank Capra did such a beautiful job capturing George Bailey's life and making it so relatable. It is Americana at its core.
Yeah. And it has all the classic stuff that you've talked about of family and, at the root element of, would people still, care if I wasn't there, and how the importance of everyone is and how we affect everyone. And it's funny. I don't watch this movie at Christmas.
Sure.
I watch it. My tradition is to watch it Thanksgiving.
There you go. That's nice because it kicks off the season.
It kicks off because I feel like Christmas is and I know we've been talking about non-traditional stuff. It feels like Christmas is kind of in the background of it, where it's more of just a heart movie. So it gets me into the season a little bit. But man, I've run into so many people who have never seen this movie, and it's shocking to me. Because it's how, like you said, it was on every channel. I didn't get that, but I remember it popping up on, I want to say they started on for a while showing it on Thanksgiving Day on some of the network shows. And that's where that kind of fell into that for me.
I will also say, I think this movie gets a bad rap. Hard to believe that movie was originally a big flop. It's not hard to believe because it's really depressing.
Yeah.
It is 9/10. I get why George Bailey wants to jump off a bridge in winter, and 1/10. Okay, maybe life's worth living. And as a result, that can be a very hard thing to take. I think it gets a bad rap of being this like happy, joy movie. And people always, remember James Stewart running down, Main Street screaming about how great Christmas is and Happy New Year, everybody, and Merry Christmas, and the town rising up to help him. But they forget the 9/10 of the movie where he is really trying to do the right thing and getting smacked down at every turn. And that's the beauty and power of it, is watching somebody do the right thing and knowing that they won't get praise for it, knowing that they won't get rewarded for it. And the reward comes later because when they're in need, people remember. Yeah. People look and say, that person helped me. And if they're in need, I'm there for them. Period. Like there's nothing else. And that's the best qualities of our country. The idea that like your neighbor is there for you when you're in need. And neighbor, I'm using neighbor in a real broad sense. And I think that's what this movie is for me.
Right. And and you got Clarence.
There's so many great scenes, but of course the argument on the phone is a beautiful one. I think was it TJ mentioned somebody mentioned the lasso scene, Osgore, the lasso scene where he steps on her robe and she hides in the bushes, and then he's like, oh, well, what do I get if I give you this robe? Like this is a very interesting situation. Like, I love his delivery, and they do a wonderful job of capturing his like all of these characters aged like, I don't know, 25, 30 years. And it's beautiful to see that maturing process and what they do to make them age. By the way, also, I acted in the play of this. In college, they did a production of this, and I performed. I played George's brother,
Ooh.
who goes to war and on to successes, and comes back at the end and reads the big telegram. But it just was fun to be a part of it and be
Yeah.
in it. It was quite an experience. And Chaos, you should check it out. I think you'd really enjoy it. Again, it's a darker movie than people imply, because it's really about how hard George's life is and how the hardship leads to deeper connections than the evil bankers in the storyline will ever understand. I acted in the play too. No way, dude. Vic, see, this is why we get along, man.
It's so true.
Common experience.
Okay,
Okay, so
I
you
will
ready?
say this, so it's not my number one pick, but
No.
I've seen it mentioned twice in the chat, 3 times. Muppets Christmas Carol is another classic one for
Well,
me.
then let's mention a couple that have been mentioned in the chat that aren't on the list.
Yeah.
Because Scrooged came up a bunch. And I think that would probably be in my top 6, 7. I think it's a great movie that
I don't like it at all.
You don't like it at all?
I think it just, the way it comes off to me, like I don't like the modern day telling of the Scrooge story. Like, it just is too much for me. I like, maybe it's like your issue with Batman Returns. That's kind of my issue, I think, with Scrooge.
Oh,
yeah.
TJ with the super chat. Let's see if I can play a little something. I've never had anybody as a guest when I played one of these. Let's see here. My goodness, I don't even know what I'm. Let's do the robot. How about the robot?
Wow, a super chat. Thank you.
That's not very traditional or Christmassy, but hey, there you go. Thank you, TJ. That's very nice of you, man. No, I can see that. It's also a dark movie, and it's a little grotesque. The creatures and the monsters and the tragic deaths and things that occur.
Well, and I also wasn't allowed to watch it as a kid, so like I came back to it a lot later on in my life, and I was just like, because I always heard like how great it was, and it was one I had never seen. So
yeah, Chaos. I mentioned both of those movies as well. We did a 6 non-traditional Christmas movies. We're finishing now the traditional classics that we love. 6 classics.
And he won't go back and watch it, but if you say, "Hey, Chaos, we talked about you multiple times throughout that point,"
oh my gosh, like right off the jump, and then kind of
in the middle,
movie. yeah.
And then we talked about you a little bit more at this one point. Now he'll watch it so
that's fair. There's several iterations of Christmas Carol, and I will say I read Dickens' Christmas Carol almost every year. It's just a great it's a short book, and there's so many great lines in that novel. It's well worth the time.
I love how Horror rips me about Love Actually, and then he puts Ghosts of Girlfriends Past.
Yeah,
get out of here.
That one. Polar Express, I think, is one of those that's really polarizing. There are people that consider it an all-time great holiday movie, and people that are like mortified by the digital art.
Yeah.
So I get both sides of it. I know that the younger kids, I think, really love it. So I can get both sides. And I did include Lethal Weapon, but I just have an absolute affection for that film.
Yeah.
Now, TJ, it brings up one that I think is an interesting one, because I like both films. There's obviously the original black and white, and then the colorized remake, or the color remake. But it never seems to crack top 5 for me. It's always like top 10, maybe the original, not the color version. It's just never, I don't know, something about it. It's like the second tier for me.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be curious to actually sit down and make my Christmas list, like a top 10 Christmas movie list, because I don't know where it would fall in line for me with that.
So I do enjoy it, and I think it's a beautiful movie, but just something about it, like, it just doesn't sit with me the same way as these others that we've mentioned. Like, I will legitimately watch Lethal Weapon and Die Hard ahead of it frequently, like many times.
And I'll watch, Patrick Wall said Tim Allen's only Santa Claus for him. We watch the Santa Claus very often in our household. It gets a lot of playtime, and it's funny because I'd say the new comic by AWA is literally the Santa Claus story in a superhero comic, because he accidentally kills the superhero and has to take over his
Harsh.
like it's entertaining, but it's what it is. So.
Well, we've delayed enough. We're on the final film, our last number one traditional movie for Christmas time. This is your number one pick, and it would probably be my dad's number one pick. And we're talking in my opinion, the only comedy sequel better than its original.
So basically, you just said I'm your dad because we both love this movie as our number.
That's
one.
Awkward.
I mean, this is where I was saying though, to just kind of go right off the gun on this, where you said for it to be a top 10 Christmas, top Christmas movie for you, you gotta be able to sit down with the kids, and there definitely are some parts in here where you probably can't watch.
That my girls have seen this
in the original format.
Yes.
Okay.
And they watched my dad has a tradition of watching this every year.
Okay.
So we do Christmas morning at my dad's house, and my brothers and their kids are all there. And then we watch this when everybody gets a little sleepy in the afternoon before Christmas dinner.
Yeah. But I love it. I mean, come on, Chaos. What
the hell's wrong with you, man? You're disappointing me today. No, I mean, yeah, we can get around to Home Alone. It was definitely in the running. And again, it's a top 10 for me.
Yeah.
Just not a top 6. This was my top 6.
So, well, I mean, I don't know if my top 6, because I can't say my non-traditionals would actually be my top 6.
I think that this might be. I mean, it's really close for me.
Yeah.
I think your number one, this,
yep,
and A Christmas Story are the only two missing from my top 6. So it might just be my top 8 is what we got here. Thanks to your 2 picks here.
Yeah.
They're just so you know, anybody who's being vacation, European vacation, Christmas vacation, Vegas vacation, and I don't know if they've made a 5th one, but there's those 4.
They redid National Lampoon's Family Vacation with what's his face.
If it doesn't have Chevy Chase, I don't count.
Well, he's technically in it because he plays Clark Griswold as the dad. So it's
it's
is it Jason Sudeikis or Ed Helm?
I think it's Sudeikis
who plays the son, and he's going through doing the whole trip.
Yeah. Oh my God, I remember
so
seeing the trailer and I never watched it.
So yeah, I mean, when you have the same, you can say, oh, it's a comedy trope, but Ed Helms, okay, and he literally though it's the same family. Now, granted, they recast some of the kids throughout the series, but
yes, they did. But I'm fine with that.
I mean, nope. I mean, you're still gonna say Iron Man 2 is an MCU movie, even though they recast, and Hulk's still in it, So
yeah, no, I'm fine with the. Plus, you want to keep the kids young in these movies. That's the whole point: is the age of the kid matching the age, the parents that what they're going through.
But I mean, this has all your classic tropes, right? The Christmas lights, the dealing with the family, dealing with the boss at we're at work who you're trying,
which is Brian Doyle Murray. I love the Murrays,
and it's. This is such a quotable movie. It's such an iconic movie. I have not experienced going out to the Christmas tree farm to cut down a tree with my kids. I did it when I was a kid because we had a Christmas tree farm, so we would do it every year, and we would just go across the street. But I mean, it just hits all the right notes. You've got the cousin showing up who you really don't want showing up to your house for Christmas.
Right.
And
oh my gosh.
Banking on a Christmas bonus.
Yep.
That you don't, it hits all the right notes for me.
It's funny because it's a movie that I know I quote year round with my brothers, all kinds of stupid stuff, kicked in the head by a mule, eyes go cross, falls in a well, eyes go straight. It's one of those that you're just constantly a little not here. There's so many little moments that are pure gold. And I think little lights aren't twinkling is something I say to my dad and my brothers all the time when we're working on electronics. Like, oh, the little lights aren't twinkling. It's just a movie that is all the like ups and downs of family, right? And there's so many great moments that ring beautifully true. Like when he's locked in the attic watching the old 8mm movies, it's so real. It's just so real, and yet also wonderfully over the top.
And you've got the great Christmas couple sweater. I don't know, why is the carpet wet, Todd? I don't know, Margot.
So
I mean,
my dad,
I say that to Todd every time from Comic Burrito. Just because I'm like, and I'm sure he's like real original, but I don't care. That's what I do.
Shep is talking about the neighbors. So my dad, saved up a ton of money with his my stepmom and bought their first house in this cul-de-sac. It was like all these families were buying and moving in. These houses were being built, like a track house kind of thing. But it was only like 12 houses. It was a very short little block. And the only family that moved in that didn't have kids was across the street, and they were legit. It was legit, basically, these neighbors. And their names were Nick and Vic. And Nick and Vic were like, I don't remember even which one was the boy's name, which one was the girl's name. It's just Nick and Vic. I don't know if it was Nicolette and Vic and Victor, or if it was like Nicholas and Victoria. I don't know, but it was Nick and Vic. And like every year they would never decorate for Christmas. They were always in their little like running suits together to go exercising. And then everybody else on the block is putting up their Christmas lights and stuff. It was hilarious. So those neighbors are completely real to me, like just so accurate.
It is one that, I mean, my 3 traditional Christmas movies, it's not Christmas until I watched them.
That's totally fair.
It feels off. Like if I don't watch one of those, I'm like, just something's not right. But there are a couple others that are in there for me that aren't great, but they're nostalgic and I love them. Like, and I saw you pull up some, brought Turbo Man up. Good golly, we watch Jingle All the Way all the time.
I've yet to watch that with my girls. I haven't, but admittedly, I haven't probably watched it in 10 years. So,
and one that I want to become a staple in my household is the classic Hulk Hogan Santa with Muscles. But
oh wow,
it's only on VHS, which I do own, but I just
do you
don't
not have a VHS player, or
I do. I just don't think I'm going to get Stacy to buy into it. It's a tough stretch.
Yeah, that's tricky. What's up? Lee is in the chat, or I don't know. Is that Tyler or Lee? I don't
know.
No,
it's got to be Lee because Tyler's out at
he's C2E2, right? He's like sleeping somewhere.
Well, he's not sleeping.
This morning at 5 a.m. my time, I was on with Lee on the Legion of Comics channel. Nice. And congrats, Legion! You've earned your wrench, man. You got a wrench on my channel now, so there you go. Thank you so much for helping out. I appreciate you. I mean, I'm not trying to be dramatic about it, but you are now the Sam's Tangled Web. I needed to replace Sam, so little burden on you to hold that up. Yeah, I have a VCR at my house. Are you kidding me?
I do. I absolutely do.
It's the same TV that I can play my N64 on. So suck it. So there you go. We gave you 12 movies, 6 non-traditional, 6 traditional movies that we consider to be some of our favorites. Thank you to those people in the chat throwing out suggestions. Great movies that also could have easily been collected onto this list. Oh, looks like you're right.
Let's see what you do, Mark. Let's see what you do.
Mark's got to drop the hammer there and take care of some things. So yeah, some great things being dropped into the Christmas discussion. White Christmas is a great movie, and I want to shout out the HBO online. If you have HBO, what's it called now? I think
HBO Max.
Okay, because it used to be Go and then Now and then Max.
It's HBO Max now. Yeah.
They have a thing with TCM, and there's a ton of great old black and white movies on there that you can watch that meet these criteria so good. And I highly recommend if you have that and you have family around, just cruise through there because there's a lot of really good movies in there that would meet these criteria that you could really enjoy. So definitely.
Wait, is 8-Bit Christmas on HBO?
That might have just disqualified the whole thing. And yeah, I saw some love for White Christmas. I saw some love for
Home Alone.
Home Alone. I'm trying to remember the other Bob Hope movie that was brought up earlier. So I'm sorry that I've been, part of the problem with drinks and movies is that by the end of the night, my memory is not all there anymore.
Yeah, it happens. It's okay.
So there you go. What's Greg? You dropped a edit video on your channel today. Let's see how well I can remember what was going on there. I watched these on the way home with my daughter. So he was doing his name that character, but they were doing cover of comics that involved like a hip hop variants.
Yeah.
And Greg had to guess which hip hop album was being replicated on 9 different images that his wife shared with him. Highly entertaining. He also just was recently on the Morbius Comics channel having a real deep dive discussion with Michelle from Moonlit Comics as well about these variants. So wonderful stuff. Lots of really good stuff because I was in the chat for the live stream on that and I watched the edit video today. So yeah, there it was. Coach Vic, Holiday Inn. I don't know if I waited long enough.
Yeah,
and me in St. Louis, another great old classic black and white. So other than those 2 shows that you've done this week, anything else people? Oh, you did an interview too.
I interviewed Dalbor Talij, who is the artist and co-creator of Hit Monkey. He also was the artist of Deadpool Kills the Marvel Universe. He did did you read the one shot by Colin Bunn, Eden from Aftershock this year? It was you probably didn't because it was a mega.
No, I did not. No.
Highly recommend reading that. He did the artwork for that. And then he's been doing a lot of stuff with AWA right now. So he's doing Hotel. He did Casual Fling. And it was just really cool because I'm blanking on where he's from. I want to say like Greece, like, to kind of just deal with like how comics are, viewed and stuff versus how they are in America. It was just a fun conversation. And
nice.
So yeah, check that out.
Are you impressed how well I know what you've done this week in YouTube? Come on.
I'm impressed. Like,
you're hype man here.
You are. And I got I got excited that I feel like you're gonna bring some edited content back soon.
So I do have 2 edit videos that I need to make this weekend. I'm actually doing a long form Marvel top 10 response to you. I did an X-Men like TikTok video just to be funny,
which was fun.
Kate and I are, because I for the DC one I'd use Charlie, for the Marvel one I'm going to try to use Kate. So I'm definitely working on that. And apparently I have to make another video as well this weekend to respond to another TikTok challenge of 10 favorite MCU movies.
Yeah. I was like
2 TikToks or 2 YouTube edit videos to shoot and edit this weekend in between putting Christmas lights up and everything else.
I know I have to put Christmas lights up. Our youngest daughter, 2.5, woke up this morning apparently. I was like, why don't we have Christmas lights up on our house? Like,
all right. So then this is my note to you and you can give it back to me. Really be careful how you set up your ladder. That's just me as like dads to one another.
Yep.
Careful with those ladders, folks.
Yep.
So anything else going on this weekend? Any other shows that you're going to be doing this weekend that people need to be watching out for?
I don't think. Oh, I was just on Team Nerd Herd last night.
Nice.
I was trying to remember.
How did I miss that? Jeez, what's wrong with me?
That was at 10 o'clock at night on my time. So it's past your bedtime.
That might have been.
So yeah, and I mean, it just next week we got Comic Talk Live.
Nice with Fire Guy and Jennifer and everybody.
That's our 1-year anniversary show. So
what?
Yeah,
I didn't get the invite. I don't know what's going on.
Well, it kind of got.
I mean, I've been on that show a lot.
We thought we were going to do it this week, but then Fire Guy and I both had to step away, so we couldn't. So I don't know if we've actually laid the plans of what is going to consist of that. So, and then drink some movies.
We're hoping to do some more of these. This is not just a one-off. I was doing a ton. For those that don't know, the last 6 months I've been doing several new jobs at my work, which give me incredibly long hours. I've been going back to school and actually getting some schooling work in. And then, of course, I've been taking care of family and having time for this, as well as live streams and things and reading comics. So it's been hard to fit things in. That's been basically the last 6-8 months. So this was one of those shows that I just decided didn't have enough time for, but I've cleared a lot off my plate, and I'm hoping that in 2022, this is a show that can be back on my plate at least once a month, but maybe even more often if possible.
And I mean, I feel like your dad and I bullied you into it, so
I would say that's fair. The truth is, Greg, I've honestly really missed hanging out with you, man.
I know. I'm same.
This is a blast, and it's fun to talk about things beyond just comics. I do want to get guests back on the show too.
Yep.
People to jump in with us. If you want to jump in and talk about movies, it's a great way for us to get to know friends in this community outside of the DC, Marvel, Image, whatever books that we're reading, and get to know people based on a different set of passions.
And what they like too. I think it's interesting to see like what movies connect with different people and hit the right notes. So
thanks, Mark, for dropping that wrench on all of those awful bots, man. So for me, tomorrow morning, it's going to be me with the girls. I'm going to try to set up, for those that don't know, like this is where I usually do my shows, but I've got a Christmas tree instead of all my short boxes in this corner. So I'm in my winter hibernation home in down the hall. So I'm going to try to set up our couch area for the next few weeks out here, even with a Christmas tree, with the girls tomorrow morning. And we might even try to turn that into our 10 MCU movies discussion in the morning. So we'll see how early the girls get up. Sunday night, I am on Big Will's channel because we are going to try to teach you how to make Dungeons and Dragons characters. In the upcoming months, D&D has finished one game, and we're going to do a one-off, one night only game to hang out together. And then we're going to start a whole new campaign. So we thought it would be a fun way to look at how do you create a character and go through the steps of making that character and what you might go through. So Tony, Old Wolf, who is very new to this and learning how to do it, and he's been doing a great job, myself and Big Will are going to do a live stream on Sunday night.
Oh, nice.
Sort of going through the steps, and you'll watch us roll and talk about the choices we're making. And we're going to make 3 characters right there on the show. And then hopefully Monday night, we've got Comic Gories. I've got 3 guests. I got 4 guests locked. 2 of them have been ill over the last week, and that might tell Bearded who they are. But we've been keeping it a secret who they are because there's a fun rivalry going on. And hopefully everybody is healthy and ready enough to go on Monday. If not, we might have to push off a week. But I'm thinking everybody sounds like they're back on the mend. Yeah. So Comic Gories would be Monday. And then Tuesday would be the return of Omni X-Men with my man Justin. So that would be next week's shows. I did shoot an edited video with a friend, Verno, over at the Cerebros that might air this weekend. I'm not sure, but you can watch my Instagram. I will post the information on that.
Nice.
Saw this. John, have you seen The Conformist? I saw it recently and thought about Miller's Crossing. I love Miller's Crossing. I'm a big fan. I don't know The Conformist. First, I thought it said The Informant, which is a great John Ford directed movie. One of the movies that John Ford won the Oscar for directing. But I don't know The Conformist.
I don't either.
Mark, I would love to have you on the show. And so as Greg and I discuss themes of what we want to do for the next few drinks and movies, I will definitely hit you up and see if any of those themes click with you and if you want to join us for some of those, man. I absolutely would love to have you on for that. If you're available this time on Friday nights, which it seems like you might be because you're hanging out in the chat. We are out here. Thanks, everybody, for coming. And we will see you hopefully in the next few weeks. Thanks, Greg.
See ya.